I ain't gotta have a ring, I ain't gotta have a belt, I ain't gotta have a crown, I still lay it down. I ain't gotta have a ring, I ain't gotta have a belt, I ain't gotta have a crown, I still lay it down, lay it down. I lay it down, 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 lay it down. I ain't gotta have a ring, I ain't gotta have a belt, I ain't gotta have a crown, I still lay it down. I'm a threat to the end.
Hey, what's going on, people? It's Jameel, and I'm putting courses together for the celebrity world on how you, if you're an actor, actress, musician, or you happen to work at one of the studios, you could just be doing lighting, and you might not be having a leading role yourself. You could just be, doing sound effects, and you're being gang stalker. You're at the studio at Universal, Warner Brothers. I'm very familiar with how things work over there, and what I want you to know is you can still grind through gang stalking. You can still maintain your job. You can still go out and see people. If you're an actor or an actress and you need to walk on the red carpet and you're being gang stalked, you can still do it. You can grind through it. This stuff is very, very, very tiny. I know it looks big and it looks like intimidating, but it's not. And you have to hear my story. The Jameel Rawls story will help any actor or actress grind through gang stalking no matter what. The Jameel Rawls story will help anybody within Hollywood. When I say Hollywood, I'm not talking about necessarily the city. I'm talking about the motion picture capital. My story is unique. I did many, many years of conspiracy research. And when I say conspiracy research, I'm not talking about just like, Area 51 or flying saucers. I'm talking about I actually went in to the business of the government, of the fraternal orders, of the secret societies, on events like Jonestown, the Manson family. Many things within the 60s and 70s I found out were something much different than what we thought they were. Anyhow, I put the interviews out and thousands of people hear the interviews, right? Okay, now the secret societies and fraternal orders hear that, and they say, is this guy going to be able to expose our deepest levels of deception? And so I end up in an interesting situation. I end up in Hollywood, and I actually meet these people in person, right? Then I get set up to be killed, and miraculously, I was able to grind through that right off the Walk of Fame. I was at the Motel 6 on Hollywood and Whitley, and at that point, everything was set in place. The gunman was there, everything was there. I walk up to a guy, look him in his eyes, and he backs up. He had to call it off. He ends up actually getting on his phone and saying a little code into the phone and called the whole thing off. Gets in his car and drives. Gets in his car and drives away. Now, while the rest of the people are still in the area, the hit still. They said, "Damn, they got called off." So eventually, they all disperse. And I didn't even know I was in trouble until the last second when I looked around and I noticed everything was in place. And so what happened was they didn't perceive me as being a threat. I wasn't on the telephone calling people saying, "Oh my God, I'm at the secret societies. I actually did it. I'm in Hollywood." I wasn't doing that. I wasn't posting videos talking about what was going on. I was just leading a normal life. I had put some videos on there about tours I was doing and walking around Hollywood and Hollywood Boulevard. So they said, this guy, he's probably a little bit street smart. He knows he's in over his head. He doesn't really look like he's going to do anything. So let's just back up off him. We don't want to draw any more attention to ourselves. Or maybe they didn't care about the attention. Maybe they just said, we don't want to do something. We don't want to express our power unless it's necessary. So they let me go about my business. I come back to Michigan. I live in Norton Shores, Michigan. I come back to Michigan, and I start running my mouth again, not just about conspiracies. At this point, what I was talking about with the conspiracies was the last thing on their mind. That was the last of their worries, because I had met these people. And so I know, we know each other now personally. And so I start talking about how I was set up to be killed stuff. So they're just like, "Damn, man, this guy, he's still running not only did he run his mouth about the conspiracies, now he figures out what we tried to do. And now they're really pissed." And so I get put into the gang stalking program. And then while I'm in the gang stalking program, I'm thinking that this is the same people trying to do a hit on me. And then I realized, wait a minute, this is gang stalking. I ended up hiding in my mother's house for a month. I had to beg her to take out the trash. It was humiliating, right? But it helped me beat my fear of death. Once I found out I was being gang stalked, I actually go out about, and sometimes I'd go walking, and at 3 a.m, cars would be coming. Now I live in Michigan. Norton Shores, Michigan is rural here. There's a long street called Ponaluna, and you can go on Google Maps. You can type in Norton Shores, Michigan, Ponaluna. I used to walk this street all the way down to a place called Hoffmaster Park and all the way to a street called Harvey at 3 a.m. And the gang stalking people, sometimes they're using big trucks, all kinds of stuff, and they would be driving at me like they're going to hit me. I'd be walking on the street, and they'd be driving like they're going to hit me. I just said, you know what, no matter what, I'm Jameel Rawls, I'm going to get through this. And so I don't move. Then eventually they get real, real close. Sometimes it'd get to 15 feet, even 10 feet, and they would steer off. Then I started walking more out. Then as they steered off, they steered off more and more to avoid me more. And I said, you know what? This is all tactics, and I beat my fear of death. So that's what's up, man. That's pretty cool. And so then I would go walking. I wake up at 3 in the morning, go walking to a real nice area called Grand Haven, Michigan. Now, I'm from Muskegon, Michigan, growing up. Well, I'm from a lot of different places, but mainly from Muskegon. But I ended up in high school in Grand Haven, so I'm familiar with the area. And so I start walking at 3 in the morning. It's like 15, 20 miles to get there, and then 15, 20 miles to get back. I'm doing some serious walking, man. I lost a lot of weight doing that. And so while I'm out there, I'm having to deal with people that I know. I used to go to school with. I'm coming across them. A lot of them are gang stalkers. They've been hired. So I start confronting people. Then I go back to an area known as Muskegon Heights, right? And this is basically the hood, and I know so many people all over this area. And so I go, I mix black and white. This is predominantly a black neighborhood. And a lot of my family, not only do I have my father, which is, my blood family, who lives all over there. Then I have a stepfather whose family lives all over there. And so I'm known by just many, many people. And I'm going around talking to people, giving them flyers, telling them about me, telling them about how I got gang stalked, giving them my phone number. I'm just hitting them up randomly. I end up getting drugged on multiple occasions. The different restaurants I go to. And then sometimes I would get drugged. I would go out and keep hitting the jump rope. I love the jump rope. I keep hitting the jump rope, passing out flyers, telling people more and more about me. And at this point, I'm realizing I'm actually beating this thing. And I keep grinding it out. And now when people talk to me, they call me and they're so bummed. And I got these courses, $50 a week. That you get at least an hour a day to talk to me to grind through it for $50 a week. And that's very reasonable, I believe. And so people who hear my story and talk to me, they immediately get that spark. There's some people who don't even, they talk to me a few times and think, wait a minute, I can actually stand up to the program? I'm like, yeah, man, you can stand up to the program. I stood up to the most powerful people in the world and beat them in a life-death situation right on Hollywood Boulevard, the Walk of Fame, baby. I know you can stand up to the gang stalking program. And so they're like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah. And so they start standing up to it, and they start beating it, and they get courage. They get inspiration. I got my client's standing up to the program now. My client, she was afraid to before I started talking to her. I was talking to her for a couple days. Now she's standing up to the program. She's not going to let it change her experience of life. And so, that's my story. So, and there's a lot more. I went through a lot, man. That's just a small, tiny piece. I remember, again, I had to walk everywhere, and I had to walk with just rows and rows of cars following me, and they put the lights on in broad daylight. And when this first starts happening to you, it's a very agitating experience because you don't know what to make of it. And now I think it's pretty cool. And I live right next to an airport. Sometimes these helicopters, they even brought out an airplane a couple times with the headlights on in broad daylight. I thought that was awesome. I learned no matter what, this experience is going to give me what I need in life. And that's what it did. And also, like, beautiful women. Man, I'm all into beautiful women now. And that's what I want. I want to go back out to the motion picture capital and holler at one of them fine ass blonde Barbie doll chicks with a fat ass boy. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm excited about. Pick Super up in the limo. Yeah. And so before I was staying at Motel 6, now I want to be staying at one of those 5 stars. And I went back to LA last summer to the thing called the Channel Panel with Treb Channeling. Now, Treb Channeling is ran by Rob Gauthier, who is a dear friend of mine, him and his companion, Kalina Angel. And so Treb is like a reptilian entity that's channeled by this guy. I know people are going to be tripping on this, but, if you're in Hollywood, you're probably used to this type of stuff. And I went and did channeling with Daryl Anka. Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar. I did channeling with him. And so, I'm very familiar with the New Age, channeling, astrology, numerology, all that stuff. And so, anyway, I'm at the hotel, and they bring a black SUV there. And I'm thinking, like, as soon as I look at the people, I know which secret society it is. I'm like, oh God. I'm like, you know what I mean? These are the people I'm like closest to intimately, and so it's like whenever they show up, I'm just like, oh man. But now it's kind of cool though because and going back, they showed up at the Holiday Inn, you know, the international Holiday Inn, right there by the airport, by the LAX. And I guess I'm like, man, they're gonna take me out right in front of the hotel, and so I get scared and I leave, and then I find out, I ran out of there, man. I'm like, I walk out, I come down to the lobby, and the guy looks at me and gets on the phone, and I'm like, I was like, immediately I knew what he was doing, but I'm like, are you the cab driver? And he shook his head no. And I go outside, and I saw those SUVs coming. I go, oh hell no! And I took off, and I hit a corner. And I was like, bam, 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 and ran inside. I was fat too, boy. I ran inside a hotel, and I'm sitting there calling a cab. And I go down to Santa Monica Beach, and I'm walking around Santa Monica Beach all day and stuff. And I'm just like, man, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna get my stuff out of the hotel? I can't go back there. And so I had to have the stuff FedEx from the hotel. And it cost me, like, overnight, it cost me, like, $300 and something. I'm like, oh, man. Oh, they played me. But it turned out that was just gang stalking. That wasn't anything. That was just gang stalking. And so they did it again. I went to Phoenix about a couple months ago. There was a hotel, and this was downtown Phoenix. I ended up going to another hotel in Glendale, Phoenix. But I was downtown, and the gang stalking program set it up, and they actually sent a black SUV, right? And the guy gets out, and he approaches me, and he's like, I'm the cab. And I'm just looking at him like he's crazy. I'm like, how the hell are you a cab, and you're in the black SUV? And it clicked. I'm like, man, what? I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, you're all big and strong. He's like, are you a little girl? Are you tough? And I'm just, I'm laughing because I know, like, he knows what he's doing, and I know he knows what he's doing. And so I'm just like, Jameel, if you don't get in this SUV and go with him and have him take you where you need to go, then that means that the program just completely punked you out. Everything you want to do is not going to work if you don't do this. And so I get inside. I'm like, all right, man. So I go back to the hotel. I said, is this the cab you called? They said, yeah. So I said, okay. So I grab my stuff. We go inside the cab. And then immediately the guy got like a big bag full of cab cards and stuff like that. Even though he's in on it, he's still, you know what I'm saying, he's still cool about it. And he's like, yeah, man, you want me to bring some girls to your room? He's like, you know what I'm saying, you want to smoke some bud or something like that? Let me know, smoke some weed. I was like, no, I don't smoke weed. He was like, all right. And so he drives me to the hotel, and he was cool about it. And I'm just like, but that felt so good to conquer that fear. I was kind of paranoid. I'm like, at first, I'm kind of paranoid. I'm like, man, Jameel, you're really going to get in there with this guy? I mean, what if we got 3 or 4 people in the back with tasers or something like that? And I'm just like, you know what? I'm the only person that's ever going to beat the program, baby. So we're going to do it no matter what. And so I get in there and I go. And these are things that consistently happen to me. Stuff like this consistently happened to me before I really beat the program. And, people don't know, man. I went on the Greyhound bus all the way to Phoenix. I had to see rows and rows of cars with their headlights on, all the way leaving where I live at Norton Shores, Michigan, all the way back to Norton Shores, Michigan. And so that was pretty cool. That was a pretty fun experience. So, I mean, for celebrities in Hollywood who are going through this, I live this. This is something I live. The first time it happened, or first time I realized it was happening, I was in Mississippi, right, and Alabama, and I realized I didn't know what I was being gang stalked, but I knew something was wrong. I knew I was being followed. And see, the thing about me is gang stalking is really just probation to me, or it was, because I went through a life-death situation with the fraternal with the secret societies. So in my mind, it's like I went from death row to probation. Like, gang stalking is nothing compared to those people. And so, I mean, those people, those are some dark people, man, up there. So, this is much easier. And so that's what helped me grind through it. A lot of people look at gang stalking like it's a death sentence. Like, you go on YouTube and you look up gang stalking and say, the program is meant to kill you. They know voodoo and all this stuff. I'm like, what? I'm like, you want to see what life and death is really like, facing life and death? You want to see who the real dark powers are? The real voodoo people? It's like, that's what I came from. This is nothing. This is cakewalk, baby. And so, I'm Jameel Rawls, the only person who ever did it and got away with it. If you're a celebrity, call me, let me know. I mean, I just feel my heart's in the right place with connecting with the people in the motion picture industry in Hollywood, because I went through years and years of conspiracy research on the Laurel Canyon area. And nobody went through as much as I did to learn about the Charles Manson incident. I'm serious. And I'm not talking about just reading books. I'm talking about I did everything. I went to psychics. I just called people, wrote letters. I just sat there, man. I used to remember I lived at my mother's house. Again, I lived at my mother's house. And I used to just sit there on the computer just looking and looking and looking up at different blogs and piecing stuff together and going through disinformation and misinformation and grinding through it day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. Same thing with the Jonestown thing. And, it's like I'm still, in essence, I'm still grinding out some old Jim Jones pictures and some old Manson, some old Charles Manson newspaper clippings and Jim Jones pictures. We're still grinding off that. And so, I'm getting into shape now. I'm trying to eat healthy as I can. Hit a gym, bro. And if you're a celebrity and you feel pressured to use drugs because of gang stalking, you don't have to use drugs, man. Just call me. We'll get it cracking. I'll grind you through it every step of the way. Believe me, I know what you're going through, and I will grind you through it every step of the way. I know you can't trust anybody, and in the back of your mind, you feel like everybody's in on it, but just call me and just talk to me. Your experience will get better. Email me, Jameel Rawls versus gangstalking@gmail. Then we can trade phone numbers. I live right next to the airport. Again, I live in Norton Shores, Michigan. I live right next to the airport. I'm single, no children, nothing. So just hit me up.